Bonjour et bienvenue à notre réunion de midi. Désolée pour le petit retard, la technologie n'a été pas d'aide ce matin. Mon ordinateur ne voulait pas trop marcher. Mais bon, nous avons deux annonces pour vous aujourd'hui avant de commencer à prendre vos questions. First and foremost, on behalf of the entire Commission and with a special word from our Chief Spokesperson, Paola, we offer our deepest condolences to the families and friends of the victims of the tragic accident that took place in Lisbon yesterday and wish, of course, a speedy recovery to all those injured. All our thoughts are with them and with the people of Portugal. Now, for a more technical announcement, let me kindly remind you of how important it is for your camera and sound to be of good quality when you ask your questions from remote. This is not only for us here in the room to better understand your questions, but it's also very important for our interpreters that support us here every day. Thanks a lot for your work. And they need really to hear well your words in order to provide an accurate interpretation. Therefore, everyone that follows our press events will also benefit from this increased sound and video quality. And therefore, we ask you to please check your equipment in advance before connecting to our midday to ensure that everything works properly, that audio and video are stable, and that you are connected from a quiet place. That is also very helpful to avoid the background noise. And this is all for our announcements today. With this, we can now move to take your questions. Go ahead.
Hello, Thomas Muller-Nilsson at Euractiv. I have a question about the GPS or alleged GPS cyber attack on Sunday. So on Monday, I mean, you said that you received information from the Bulgarian authorities that this was due to a blatant Russian interference. I was wondering, have the Bulgarian authorities shared with you the evidence for this? And I asked this because the Bulgarian Prime Minister said on Tuesday that they won't be investigating the situation, and he downplayed the significance of the attack. He said, look, this kind of thing happens all the time on eastern frontline states. So I was wondering if you had any comment on that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Of course, it's for the Bulgarian authorities to decide how to take course of this action. What I can say is that I can confirm that there was GPS interference. Of course, what matters most is that the plane landed safely, and this is the key outcome of this episode. The radio interference was confirmed by the Bulgarian Air Traffic Service Authority, and I can quote a press release from their side. I believe that Paola already quoted on Tuesday, but if useful, I don't mind recalling, of course. Their press release said, during European Commission President von der Leyen's flights to Plovdiv, the satellite signal providing data to the aircraft GPS navigation system was disrupted. While approaching Plovdiv airport, the GPS signal disappeared. To ensure flight safety, air traffic control immediately purposed an alternative landing approach using ground-based navigation systems. So, of course, as I was saying, the landing occurred in safety, and this is the most important. Also, on the last point you mentioned, we absolutely agree. We are very well aware that, unfortunately, this incident is not specific to the President, meaning that it occurs on a very regular basis to many aircrafts flying, in particular next to our eastern border. The situation is complicated. It's a fact that since the start of the war, Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine, these episodes have been increasing, these episodes of disturbances of GNSS GPS signals, and therefore this is why a coordinated action from the European Union is needed. The Commission is supporting Member States in developing an EU-wide action plan with clear roles and responsibilities across sectors and levels, because we are very well aware that this is an issue occurring very regularly to our aircrafts, but also to our ships at times. And, of course, this is a difficult situation to handle. Other questions? You have a follow-up. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, perhaps I didn't make my question clear enough. I mean, it just seems very puzzling. I mean, if you receive information from the Bulgarian authorities that the Commission's President plane was the victim of a blatant Russian interference attack, and then they say they're not going to investigate this incident, I mean, would you agree that that's, prima facie rather puzzling? And then I just have two small follow-ups as well. I mean, regarding the FT report, so they said that the pilots had to land using paper maps. Can you confirm that this is true? And also, I know Paula said on Tuesday that they had to circle the runway for longer than, the plane took longer than was expected. Did it take an hour? The FT reported that the plane circled for an hour, so I was wondering if you can confirm those two things as well. Thanks.
Thanks. I don't have much information to share on the latter part. We have never given a delay ourselves or information on the timing ourselves. What matters ultimately is the plane landed successfully, and of course this is the point that is of greatest interest for us. On your other questions concerning the means used to land, we have never commented ourselves. I can just refer you to what the Bulgarian authorities have said themselves. They have referred to conventional navigation aids being used to successfully land the aircraft. Therefore, this is what they have said, and we would have nothing further to add to it. More generally, look, as I said, and I can also quote the Bulgarian press release in this case. The Bulgarian press release says, since the start of the hostilities in Ukraine in 2022, there has been an increased number of disturbances related to GNSS GPS signals, and in the event of such disturbances, aircraft crews inform air traffic services. So the Bulgarian authorities are very well aware that this is a problem that occurs regularly on our eastern border and in their territory, but of course not only, it concerns many, many more member states. And as I was saying, this requires action at European level, at national level, much beyond this incident, but because it is very systematic and it occurs on a very regular basis, and not only to this plane, but we have read of reporting of commercial aircrafts facing the same difficulties. Therefore, I believe that all the member states are aware of this matter and are taking necessary action to ensure safe flights. Other questions on this? Yes?
Hi. Antonetta Rossi from Politico. We actually wrote a story sort of debunking this, and just to give you an update, the Bulgarian Prime Minister this morning said that it was a partial interruption of the signal, which is found in densely populated areas, which you'll agree with me describes most airports in the world, and also the Deputy Prime Minister and Transport Minister denied there was evidence of disruption to the GPS signal, saying there is not a single fact supporting the claim to silence the GPS signal that affected the plane. So it seems like there wasn't even GPS interference anymore. And the fact that, if you allow me, if there was blatant targeting of the European Commission President's plane, that would constitute an act of war. And the fact that the Bulgarians aren't investigating this surely is quite worrying. So we would like a comment from the Commission on how are you taking this forward? Will you investigate it yourself? Will it adjust practices around sharing flight data, as the Italian Defence Ministry has suggested? And finally, can you please clear up once and for all how long did the President's plane circle before landing? Because it went from an hour to apparently 5 minutes, according to the Bulgarian Prime Minister this morning. Thank you.
Thanks. We have never commented on the delay ourselves, so you are reporting matters that were in the press, and we will continue not to comment on that. As I said, what matters is that the aircraft landed safely, and this is the most important point. For what concerns your other questions, and perhaps I'm forgetting one right now, but I would just repeat what I just said, which is quoting the press release that has been sent out by the Bulgarian authorities at the beginning of the week. And the press release of the Bulgarian authorities says, during European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's flight to Plovdiv, the satellite signal providing data to the aircraft GPS navigation system was disrupted. While approaching Plovdiv airport, the GPS signal disappeared. To ensure flight safety, air traffic control immediately proposed an alternative landing approach using ground-based navigation systems. Continuing from the press release of the Bulgarian authorities, since the start of the hostilities in Ukraine in 2022, there has been an increased number of disturbances related to GNSS GPS signals, and in the event of such disturbances, aircraft crews inform air traffic services. So this is the press release. I haven't finished my answer. Please wait for your follow-ups that I can conclude. Thank you. And on the latter part, let me just clarify that we have never been speaking of a targeting ourselves. I believe I got this question on Monday, and I was very clear in saying that we had no information in this sense. We are extremely well aware, as I was saying, that this is a matter that occurs to many aircrafts in Europe on a very regular basis. Therefore, it is an issue that the President's aircraft has had. But it's absolutely not isolated. As I was saying, it is a matter that unfortunately occurs in our skies and in our seas on a constant manner since the start of the war, and therefore this is why it's important to tackle it together with our member states, which is what we are doing, what we were already doing actually even before this incident, but clearly given the renewed attention to the matter, we are going to invest even more energies in trying to find solutions, and I believe my colleague Anna Kaisa has already spoken the other day on all the actions that we are taking to solve this matter for all Europeans flying in our skies and navigating in our seas. You have a follow-up now. Go ahead.
I do. So you're taking the matter forward about GPS, non-existent GPS interference you're taking a matter forward for something that essentially did not happen now, and the fact that it's not happened is quite a thing to note, since NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte yesterday said he's treating it as a serious security threat. Donald Trump, the US President, commented on it, and the Commission is now not going to investigate itself into the matter.
Thanks. First, we don't have this investigative powers, I believe. I feel we're going a bit in circles, so I'm not really sure what the value added is. You're saying something that has not happened. I'm telling you there was GPS interference. I quoted a Bulgarian authority press release confirming the GPS interference, and I'm telling you that, of course, we're taking action not in relation to this specific incident, which has occurred, but is one of the many. So we are taking action because it is an issue that our citizens are facing on a regular basis when flying, especially near the eastern border of Europe. The member states concerned are very well aware of the issue. We see constant reporting since February 2022 of incidents of this type. So, of course, we were taking action, and we continue to take action together with our member states. And if you wish, Anna Kaisa can also recall all the actions that we have been taking and will be taking. I think she already did it the other day, but if useful, of course, we can repeat once more. Go ahead.
Yes, on the same issue but a different question. Can you confirm that the plane that was used was hired by the company Lux Aviation? Can you tell me if you're regular, if the Commission President or the Commission is a regular customer of this company? And I'm asking because it is a company that has been linked in the past to Russian money. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I believe you have sent us a question in writing as well. No? Am I mistaken? Okay. I might have to check exactly what the procedures are. It was, how can I say, a charter plane. This, yes, it can happen from time to time. As I was saying the other day, I believe that every 2 months we publish the information relating to the missions and how they're carried out or not. So you can see there how often we use charter planes. It's public information, of course. I am not sure we have all the data because Balash is not here today. I'm looking at Maciej if he has the information at hand. What I can say is that we have tender procedures that are carried out when we need to decide the companies. These tender procedures were, of course, carried out in compliance with the relevant directives on public procurement. At that stage, the candidates had to provide detailed data and evidence of their financial situation and declare a number of additional elements, including EU legislation against corruption and money laundering, among many others. Any other element would have been assessed in that phase, but I wouldn't have at hand information to share on the specific company or on other matters of this sort. We will have to check it bilaterally. Perhaps Maciej can follow up later when he collects the information, as Balázs isn't here. But indeed, all our contracts are carried out through a tender procedure by which we check a number of elements, including compliance with EU regulations, as I was saying. Other questions for us today on this matter? Not the case. Other questions for us today on different topics? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Roland Papp with Nipsava. I have a question regarding the mid-term review of the cohesion funds. Hungary requested regrouping of around 600 million euros in March this year, which is essentially getting hold of money which was otherwise frozen because Hungary didn't fulfill the horizontal enabling conditions. So I was wondering, my first question is there a decision on this request from Hungary? And also, what criteria is the Commission using to decide whether to allow this reprogramming or not? And is it linked to fulfillment of horizontal enabling conditions or not in that sense? My second question is about the deal and the legislative, let's say, renewal or the new legal framework for the cohesion midterm review process. And I was wondering, because the deal which has been done or made by the co-legislators also allows still from regrouping funds which are affected by which are frozen because of not fulfilling horizontal enabling conditions. So wouldn't that undermine the credibility of the Commission to allow Orban to use this loophole and access potentially hundreds of millions of euros? And also, Commissioner Fito wrote a statement about this and the importance of rule of law, upholding rule of law in this context, which, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be published in the official journal of the EU as well. What can you tell me about this, and also what would it mean legally, politically, this statement? Thank you.
Thanks. This was really many questions and very long questions. So I hope Maciej took note or mental note of everything you asked. Perhaps for next time we can split them. I promise. I always try to allow follow-ups. They sounded really intense, but Maciej, if you can answer.
Thank you, Roland. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll take your first question at the beginning, and then maybe I can ask you to repeat the second one, please. So when it comes to the ongoing midterm review that you are referring to, as you know, it's an exercise to which all member states are invited. So basically it started in spring this year, in the middle of the present programming period. We invite member states to adjust and modify their cohesion programs to adapt them to the new Commission priorities. This is an ongoing exercise. As other member states, Hungary is taking place in this exercise, but since it's not concluded yet, I cannot confirm any figures or amounts. It should be concluded in the coming months. The plan is to conclude it by the end of this year, but as I said, it has not been finished yet, so I cannot really speak about any amounts here. Can you repeat your second question?
Apologies, yes. It's about the statement by Commissioner Fito about this new legislative decision.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Look, thanks. I saw your email and I was trying to check this statement before midday. I haven't found it yet, I must say. I'll come back to you after the midday. In any case, the midterm review negotiations are still ongoing, as you know. We haven't had yet the final decision of the Parliament. It's hopefully coming soon. But before this is concluded, I cannot really comment on the outcome of this legislative process.
Other questions for Maciej? Or you have follow-up. Go ahead.
Yes, I just have a follow-up because I understand that this process is going on in all member states, but there is a specificity of Hungary, namely the horizontal enabling conditions. So can those funds be touched, and can the Commission decide to still allow Hungary to regroup for this regrouping, which means in effect that Hungary can get this money, the Hungarian government can get this money without the reforms and the changes which the Commission has been asking for, and it's about economic freedom and child protection law and asylum problems. So again, this is things which the Commission repeatedly has been talking about and saying that Hungary didn't do enough.
Look, when it comes to the blocked funds for Hungary under the cohesion policy, maybe I can just give a brief state of play. Yeah? So the whole amount for the time being is 8.4 billion, more or less, and they are blocked for two particular reasons. So part of the funds is suspended under the rule of law conditionality regulation, and this was actually raised in the last midday, and Balázs confirmed that these funds cannot be touched. And another part is blocked for non-fulfillment by Hungary of the horizontal enabling conditions of on the Charter of EU Fundamental Rights. Right? So this is another part which is blocked under the cohesion policy. And this is what you were referring to because it concerns indeed academic freedom, it concerns protection of the LGBT community and the risk to the right of asylum, actually. In terms of these funds, in any case, if Hungary intends to reallocate any of these funds to another program, it has to be approved by the Commission. This is clear. So it requires an authorization of the Commission to move these funds.
Thank you. Other questions for Maciej on the files he follows? Lydia from Remote, is it for Maciej? Even if it's not for Maciej, Lydia, you can go ahead. It's okay. You just need to press on speak, and then we hope to see you very well and hear you, as we were saying at the start of the midday.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it works.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question on the Digital Markets Act. Is that okay for me to go ahead? Or do you want to wait for
No, it's okay. I didn't see hands raised for Maciej, so please go. Thank you.
So there was a survey released today by a big tech group showing consumer dissatisfaction with some of the changes that companies have made to comply with the Digital Markets Act. And while this group, the CCIA, obviously has an agenda, it's pretty easy to find examples of consumers being frustrated with changes to iOS and Google search and other services online on Reddit and elsewhere. And even people who are proponents of the DMA would say that the Commission, or have said that the Commission needs to do a better job of educating people on the benefits of the DMA and why these changes are happening to these services that they use in their everyday lives. So I was wondering what your response to that is. And then I also just another small DMA question. When will we see the responses to the public consultation on the DMA for the review due May 3rd? Online, like when will they be published online?
Thomas.
Thanks, Lydia. Let me start with the second one. Work is ongoing, so I have no exact deadline to communicate at this stage. On your first question, let me maybe start by recalling that the DMA is absolutely essential in giving users in Europe more choice in how they're using their devices and online services, and it's equally essential in giving developers more opportunities to compete with big tech players. Now, you're referring to our work to educate people. I will not educate anyone here. I can maybe just give some concrete examples of what the DMA has already brought to our daily lives and what changes have been implemented thanks to the DMA. Let me maybe start with Booking, and Booking cannot prevent hotels from selling cheaper rooms on their own websites anymore. One achievement of the DMA. I can go on. The list can be quite long. I will mention only 3 or 4 of them. Users in the EU can now choose their default web browser. Users in the EU can decide to disinstall pre-installed apps on their phones. Today you can install your phone without having to subscribe to a Gmail account. So these are all changes that are currently happening that are already effective in the EU thanks to the DMA. Now, going back to the survey, we're very well aware in the Commission that some of the compliance measures laid out in the DMA are more difficult to implement than others, and this is precisely the reason why we are working hand in hand with gatekeepers to find appropriate solutions. But let me finish by saying one thing: compliance with the DMA is not optional, this is an obligation.
Thanks a lot, Thomas. Other questions for Thomas on the DMA or on other files he covers? Not the case. Or, sorry, I missed a few hands. Was it for Thomas? Go ahead then. Sorry. I wanted to take glasses and again I forgot.
Hello, Roman for News. I believe it is for Thomas. It's about cyber attacks. So there was a massive Chinese cyber attack campaign that were recently detected, identified by the American Cyber Defense Agency that was touching the US, but also EU countries. But I was wondering, what about the EU institution? Do you have any information about those cyber attacks? Were the EU institution or EU official targeted in those campaigns?
Thank you, Roman. We're following this very closely indeed. We're monitoring when it comes to the EU institutions. Monitoring work is ongoing, but for now I can tell you that the EU institutions were not targeted.
Other questions for Thomas? Lydia from Remote.
I just have one follow-up question, because another thing I've heard from people about this question of whether the DMA is good for consumers and about consumer frustrations is that it maybe these frustrations wouldn't be there if there was more compliance from the companies, and that if the Commission actually got them to full compliance, we wouldn't have these issues. Like for instance, you mentioned booking. They can't prevent hotels from listing lower prices elsewhere. You know, there's a concern from the hotel lobby that booking actually still does this, but they just don't have it in their contracts. So, what's your response to that? That the gatekeepers aren't being pushed to full compliance.
Thanks, Lydia. I can reassure everyone that the Commission will push gatekeepers and ensure full compliance. This is our work. This is what we're doing. We have several investigations ongoing, and we'll continue doing that. But let me just take an issue with your first comment. Changes are happening. Changes are effective. Again, I can reassure citizens and users in the EU, the changes are here. If you cannot see it on your devices, please be free to get in touch, because this would mean that companies are not complying and not respecting our rules, and we will take action.
Thank you, Thomas. I do not see other hands raised for you. So thanks a lot. Other questions for us today? Oh, still many. Okay, let's start here. Yes, go ahead. Yeah. I don't want to call names because without glasses it's really too risky.
Okay,
I
it's
need
okay.
to remember
Maria
them.
Psara with Star TV Greece. I have a question for Anna Kaisa. If I'm not wrong, it's about, again, the GSAI project, the cable that would connect Greece and Cyprus. My first question is if you are aware of the quotes by the Minister of Finance from Cyprus saying that he has some studies proving that this project is not sustainable. If the Commission knows about these studies, and if the Commission continues to support this project as according to the studies it has. Thank you.
Anna Kaisa.
What I can say and what I can confirm is that this project, the Great Sea Interconnector, remains of utmost political and strategic importance to the European Commission, and we are doing everything that is within our power to ensure that this project will be implemented. And the reasons why this project is so important, I can give you two reasons. The first is that it is absolutely key in bringing an end to Cyprus's energy isolation. And the second one is that this, once implemented, will allow increased amount of renewables in the system, which will ultimately result in lower energy prices for the benefit of companies, businesses and consumers in that region. So these are the reasons why this is of absolute importance that this project will be implemented. It has the status of project of common interest, and it has received funding over the years from several our funding mechanisms, including the Connecting Europe facility, the Trans-European Networks for Energy, etc. And for each of those funding mechanisms, they require feasibility studies, different kinds of basically commitments from the parties, from the project promoters, as well as the member states that are concerned. So before this project has been eligible for EU funding, it has gone through a fairly thorough scrutiny by the Commission, by the project promoters, because of course it has to prove economic viability before there's any sense for anyone to commit to it. So therefore we are in constant contact in the current situation. The project is been going on for quite a few years already, and we would like to see it come to its completion as soon as possible. So to enable this, within the role that we have, we are in contact with the promoter, with the regulators, with national authorities, and then, of course, we call on the responsibility of all actors to honour their commitment. And we really, really hope that we will see the completion of this project, not just for the sake of it being completed, but really to end Cyprus's energy isolation and to do something very, very concrete to bring down energy prices in the region.
Maria, you have a follow-up.
Yesterday, the President of Cyprus said about the EPPO that is researching both this GSI project and the other LNG project in Vasilikos, if I'm not wrong. Do you know about these EPPO researches, if any? Thank you.
We are aware of the initiation of investigation by the European Public Prosecutor's Office, and we have no comment to make in this matter. This is for the EPPO to comment, so the questions regarding its work should be addressed to them, but we are aware, and these are ongoing things, so we would not comment them in any way.
Another question on this matter, I understand. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ariana, for the floor. Alexandra Goudouri with Kathimerini. A follow-up question on Maria's question, Anna Kaisa. Just to make it clear, so the Cypriot government has not shared with you these studies that prove, according to the Cypriot finance minister, the non-viability of the project? And secondly, talking about delays, and obviously there will be more and further delays because of the investigations of the European Public Prosecutor. You mentioned on Tuesday that the timelines and deadlines and delays are with the project promoter. However, the Commission has already invested and funded this project. So I was wondering, don't you have a say on these delays and the timelines, and are you going to do anything to reverse the current stalemate? Thank you so much.
On the timeline and how long something can last or not, I mean it's a rhetorical question or a hypothetical question in a way. What we can say again from our side is that we expect all parties to commit to as rapid an implementation of the project as possible, because any further delay is to the detriment of the parties involved and especially Cyprus. It is the main beneficiary of this project. So it is a PCI project, it's a project of common interest, which means that there is no set timeline by the Commission. We are we are funding this project partly, and it is our interest as someone who is part of or partly funding this, obviously to see it, but to come into completion. But it's definitely the interest also of those taking part and then building this project. You referred to the Cypriot studies. We are, of course, also at technical level in continuous contact on this project, as we are with all our projects that we are funding. So I would have to check if information has been exchanged at technical level.
Thanks, Anna Kaisa. I see no other questions on this matter. Is it on this? No. Okay. Is it for Anna Kaisa? Then go ahead, Dashit.
Hi, Anna Kaisa. It's follow-ups. So in May, I think it was the EU-UK ETS linking. There was a framework agreement, right? If I'm right about that. I was just wondering when that moves on to the adoption phase in terms of mandates and timelines. And the second question was on the CORSIA directive, also in May. There was a first implementing act adopted, but I was wondering what comes next, And a final timeline question is on nuclear, the phase out of nuclear, Russian nuclear atomic supplies. I was wondering when that comes. I can't see that in the tentative agenda for September. Maybe I've missed something over the summer. Thanks.
On the nuclear proposal, that is, I can confirm it is coming, but I do not have a specific timeline to communicate to you at this moment, but we will stay in touch on this. And then on Corsia and then on UK ETS, I'm looking at Ulof, who is otherwise engaged, but it's UK ETS. But we'll check on the timelines of these two on both Corsia and on the UK ETS, and we'll get you a reply on that timeline. But and on the nuclear, nothing to communicate yet, but it is being prepared and it will be presented in due course.
Thank you. I'm looking at off. Perhaps we need to follow up. Okay, later. Daphne, you have another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for this, but on the nuclear, have I forgotten something? But I was expecting something in September, and is there, in terms of the delay, I suppose, because it's not there for now in the tentative agenda. I was just wondering what sort of things, is it more complicated than we thought? Thanks.
No, I think you're reading too much into this now. We're now on the 4th of, is it 4th? Yes. So it's still early days. September is only in the beginning. So there are no delays, no complications, no nothing. And as we've said, our tentative agendas are tentative agendas, and they are also organic living documents that the heads of cabinets and the college revise and review on a weekly basis. So we will surely stay in touch on this.
Other questions for Anna-Kaisa? Not the case. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, Camille Condessu from AFP. I have a question for Marcus. In today's daily news, there is a mention of 18.9 million euros for Moldova under the Reform and Growth Facility. I just wanted to make sure whether this was in fact the first payment or not, because the statement both refers to it as the first and then additional, so I was a bit confused about that. And secondly, what would you say to those who would say that so close to an election this might constitute a form of election interference? Thank you.
Thank you. Marcos can, of course, join me, but perhaps to start answering on a few points, I think that our support to Moldova is not of the last minute. To the contrary, I think we have been supporting Moldova since many years. We're supporting it in its path towards EU accession and, of course, in bringing forward all the reforms that are needed for this EU accession. We have, indeed, a growth plan agreed with Moldova. The growth plan entails a number of reforms to be carried out. The logic, if you want, works a bit like the Next Generation EU that we have for our member states. So with these growth plans, we are extending the possibilities for the countries that are on the track for accessing the European Union. We have it for the Western Balkans. Of course, we have the Ukraine facility, and we have the growth plan for Moldova. In all of these cases, it is a reform agenda that will bring them closer to accessing our union and will also allow gradual European integration, because we're very well aware of how this gradual integration in our single market can have a very important effects on these countries, bringing them closer already to our union, and of course also to our union ourselves, because we do believe that we are stronger with our partners on the accession path. So on the payment itself, I really believe that the coincidence, let's say, towards the election is of no relevance, because it's a path that we are following with all these countries, and we're following since a very long time. I believe that the entire growth plan for Moldova entails 1.9 billion if they deliver on all, of course, the reforms. This is a payment, as you were saying, of 18.9. It follows a pre-financing payment that was announced, if memory does not fail me, end of June, early July, when the President was also travelling to Moldova. I believe it was already 270 million. As I was saying, the logic is a bit the same as we had with Next Generation EU, so pre-financing and then payments at the completion of reforms. In this case specifically, Moldova has brought forward reforms in, Marcos can correct me, but I believe electricity and gas market, as well as energy security, so areas that are of key relevance for Moldova and, of course, also for the European Union. Marcos, did I say it all already? Apologies. Okay. You have a follow-up. Let's see the follow-up.
It was just on the first part of the question, whether it is, in fact, the first payment under that facility for Moldova, because it says first and additional. So
I replied, but maybe I was speaking a bit fast. Apologies. I'll try to slow down. It's the enthusiasm on supporting Moldova towards the European path. It is the first payment on a regular basis, but it follows a pre-financing of 270 million. So this pre-financing payment was carried out end of June, beginning July, and now it's the more regular payments at the completion of reforms. So both indications are correct in a way, even if a bit confusing. Apologies for that. Other questions on Moldova or for Marcos? Not the case. Other questions for us today? Go ahead now, yes, and then I will come back.
Angela Scugins from TVP World. I believe it's on trade. The EU's Agricultural Commissioner today will meet with Poland's Minister of Agriculture, Stefan Krajewski. What time is this meeting and what's the purpose of the talks? Does it have anything to do with Poland's continued resistance against the EU-Mercosur deal? And aside from that, does the Commission have any plan to bring Poland on side with this? Our understanding is that France and Italy have softened their opposition, but do you even have a plan to convince Warsaw that this is a good deal, as Warsaw alone doesn't have the power to block this agreement? Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Ange.
You're back. I'm very happy. Yeah.
Hello. I'm not aware of the meeting you're referring to, but, you know, let's be really clear here. Since December, when the political talks for the Mercosur agreement were concluded, we've been in constant contact with our member states, including Poland, in constant contact with our industry, and most importantly, in constant contact with our farmers. So what you heard here yesterday very clearly from Commissioner Šefčovič and others was that in that time, in those conversations with member states and with our farmers, what did we do? We listened to them. We listened to their concerns. Their concerns were that, that there could be adverse market impacts here in Europe on the basis of the increased market share that we're giving to Mercosur countries for products like beef, poultry, etc. And what we have done in response to those concerns is strengthen the safeguards in this agreement even more. So what we have done is to put in place a plan to legally operationalise the safeguards for any sector where we see a sudden or a harmful increase in imports that could lead to adverse impacts for notably our agri-food producers. So that means there's a legally binding commitment to our farmers that if anything goes wrong, and by the way, we don't believe it will, because the small market opening that we're providing to the Mercosur countries on beef or on poultry, for example, is being phased in over 7 years and is very, very carefully calibrated to ensure that precisely this thing doesn't happen. But if it did, we have put in place a legal guarantee that safeguards could click in if there's evidence that there is that undue or harmful market impact. As well as that, we have put in place a substantially increased pot of money, 6.3 billion euros. 6.3 billion euros as an insurance policy should there be any risk to our farmers. And just before...
I am so sorry. There's going to be the fire alarm in a few seconds. I just don't want anyone to panic. It's, again, that time of the month. So in a few seconds we will have that horrible noise. We will cut the microphones from remote. We will wait for everything to be finished before resuming with Olof's reply. You can try to go ahead, but it's a matter of seconds. Oh, we're preventive. Okay.
Ariana just said that there's no need to panic about the alarm. And what the message we want to transmit to our member states and to our farmers is that there's no need to panic about the Mercosur trade agreement. We've listened to their concerns. We've taken strong action to respond to it. And now we believe we have a deal on the table that farmers can support, that industry can support, that all our member states can support. As I was saying, we believe we now have a Mercosur agreement in place that our farmers can support and that our farmers can be confident about, precisely because there will be no risk to them. We've taken every possible precautionary measure to ensure that they are protected, as we always do in trade agreements. And by the way, let's just recall, zoom out a little bit and remember that precisely because the European Commission, acting on behalf of the entire European Union, when it negotiates trade agreements, takes the maximum amount of effort to make sure that we generate new export opportunities for our farmers and agri-food exporters, and takes the maximum amount of care to make sure that our sensitive sectors are protected. We have a 60, or maybe it's 70, I can't remember the exact statistic. It's a big number. A 60 or 70 billion euro agri-trade surplus. That's not happening by accident. It's happening because of the work we do in those trade agreements to promote our farmers' interests, both on the offensive and the defensive side. So you're talking about a meeting with the Polish government today. I wasn't aware it was happening, but that outreach between the Commission and Member States has been happening all the time. It will continue to happen, and now we're saying to them, here's a good deal. It gives us great, great economic opportunities. It binds us closer to a like-minded region in a time when we need friends. And we're saying, look at the facts on both the offensive and the defensive side. This is something you can get behind.
Other questions for Olaf? David, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. Olaf, so there are the legal proposals. There are the annexes. Was that last week that we had those? And they were discussed. There was a discussion in the Trade Committee in Parliament yesterday. And from that discussion, it seemed like there will be amendments coming on that. I'm just to understand the way things go. Is the legal proposals, the annex, the tariff rate quotas and quantities, that should not be changed? Does that bring into doubt all the treaty, or is it something that Parliament has to take as it is proposed, or is there room for manoeuvre, in certain terms of getting things off the list or on the list, that sort of thing? Thanks.
Apologies, I'm a bit confused. We were speaking about Mercosur, and now we're speaking about the US, right? Otherwise, I get lost with.
Yeah, I'm lost, but this is about the US, the EU-US trade deal. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Okay, well, just, I know I keep on mentioning Stefan, but we'll put it in the freezer, as he would say, because I would like to finish on the Mercosur chapter first, if possible. I see that David has his hand raised from remote. Is it on Mercosur?
Yes, thank you, Arianna. I hope you can hear me well. Yes, thank you. David Carretta, Radio Radicale. Olaf, just a clarification on the Unity safety net and the 6.3 billion. Will this money go only for potential effects of Mercosur agreement, disruption for agricultural sector, or is it basically all the pot for crisis in the sector, all sort of crisis, Ukraine as in the past, weather events and so on? Thank you very much.
Grazie, David. Yes, indeed, it's the latter. So the proposal in the the budget proposal from the European Commission is that this Unity Fund of €6.3 billion would replace the existing agricultural reserve of €450 million annually. So it would not be only for the Mercosur, any risks associated with the Mercosur agreement, to be very clear. It's for the full suite of challenges faced by our agricultural sector, climate, market-related, etc. But the point is that it's a substantially increased pot of money, and the most important point is that, as I said earlier, and I now repeat, that we're convinced that that pot of money will never need to be accessed in the context of the Mercosur agreement, because in the first instance, when it comes to sensitive EU agri-food sectors, imports from Mercosur, the additional quota we're offering them is carefully calibrated to not damage our farmers' bottom lines. It's phased in over 7 years. We've put in place a legally binding safeguard, and if and only if all those stages don't offer the necessary protections, and we believe they absolutely will, but just to be extra sure that our farmers can get behind this deal, we're saying this massive pot of money is also available should you need it. So I hope that makes things sufficiently clear.
Other questions on Mercosur specifically? Not the case. David, would you mind briefly repeating your question so then Olaf can answer the one on the US? Thank you.
Yeah. So it was on the EU-US trade deal, the legal text, specifically the annex, and the ability of Parliament to actually. Sorry, I see all of his multitasking that I can't do. The ability of Parliament to actually change anything in the text, the annex, the list of products are there for zero rate tariffs. I mean, from the discussion yesterday in the Trade Committee, it seemed fairly clear that they don't want to rubber stamp the agreement. Does that pose a danger for the deal if there are major changes, or if there are even little changes? Thanks.
Thanks, David. Look, it's too early to be clear or precise on what will happen next. We haven't put forward any legal proposals yet. In terms of so go back to basics here. There was the political agreement between Presidents von der Leyen and Trump. There's the joint statement. Arising from the joint statement, there will have to be, legal proposals to operationalise it. We have made a proposal on the operationalisation of our commitment to lower our tariffs on American industrial exports, which were already low, by the way, to zero, as a precondition for the Americans retroactively imposing the 15% across-the-board tariff on EU car exports going back to August 1st. So what happened yesterday, as I understand it, in the European Parliament was a debate where MEPs expressed their views on this approach. It's too early to say what's going to happen next, but from the perspective of the European Commission, as you've heard me say from this podium many times, as you heard Commissioner Šefčovič say yesterday, we're satisfied that we achieved, in challenging circumstances, the best possible deal to give stability and predictability to transatlantic trade, and also to give our exporters, our companies, the best chances to remain competitive on the American market. We're now we're looking at how to operationalise all the various political commitments in the joint statement, of which there are many, including looking at other areas with the US where we can reduce tariffs. And that's where things stand at the moment. And I'm not going to comment any further on what the next steps would be.
Questions on the US trade deal? Go ahead then.
Hi, Fatima Sadouki from Montel News. I was wondering whether you could give us an update, Olaf, on where things are, the negotiations for steel and aluminium trade talks with the US. Can you give us a sense of timeline that the Commission has in mind to agree on quotas? Are steel quotas the goal? And can you share any update, basically any timeline? What can we expect? Thank you.
Thanks very much for your question. I don't have any updates to provide at this stage. The objective remains the same. I don't need to go into the details now, you're aware of them. And that is what we're very focused on, and we continue the work with the US to try and, as I said, operationalise that commitment into something concrete. Nothing in terms of timelines at the moment.
Edith from Remote.
Oh, sorry, realised why the camera wasn't working. Thanks for taking my question. It's just a follow-up on the state of play on steel and also car tariffs. Does Commissioner Šefčovič plan to travel to the US before this executive order or whatever needs to be done is implemented to kind of like get things moving?
Thanks for your question, Edith. I'm not aware of any travel plans of the Commissioner to the US, but I will double-check that with his people and come back to you.
David, another question on this? Okay.
So, do these discussions with the US on steel and aluminium, do those affect the EU's safeguard measure and the renewal of that safeguard measure, or the change and revision? I mean, in terms of the timeline, is that coming soon, or is that going to sort of wait a little? I mean, can you give a bit more clarity on that? Thanks.
Those are separate tracks, David. I don't have any update to provide on the work on the safeguard at the moment, but they're separate things.
Other questions for Olof? Not the case. Other questions for us today? Go ahead, and then I'll wrap it up because we've been together almost an hour.
Hi, thank you very much. Peter Teffer with Follow the Money. I noticed that there's a delay in the publication of minutes of college meetings. The most recent minutes available are from 17 June. And on the agenda for yesterday's college was the approval of minutes of 6 previous college meetings. So the oldest was put on the agenda for the 7th time. Can you explain why the approval of these minutes has been held over for so long? Did the college members disagree over the content? So, what was the disagreement about? And can you say whether yesterday they finally approved these minutes, and when can we expect them online?
I believe that indeed the minutes have been approved yesterday, so they will be online shortly. I will need to check with colleagues exactly when. Very simply, college minutes are approved by the college in subsequent sessions. So probably now I don't have the dates, so I need to rely on what you said. They approved the minutes of the college of the 17th of June in one of the last college meetings before the summer break. We had the last college somewhere around the 20th of July, I can't recall exactly, and simply there have been no other colleges in between. So on the 20th of July, they approved retroactively, like is always the case. And now at the first college meeting, where there was a possibility after the summer break, they resumed the adoption, and this is why they will be published very soon. So I wouldn't have any specific issue to report on that. You have a follow-up? A very brief one, please.
Yeah, the thing is, there have been meetings. So there have been 6 meetings where no minutes from previous meetings have been approved. So the same minutes have been put on the agenda again and again. So first it was 1, 2, 3, 4. So now there's 6 minutes that have been unapproved until yesterday.
I really need to check because I don't have this information at hand. I will verify and get back to you. But if you say 17th of June was the last published minutes, it always takes a bit of time, and we had colleges until the 20th of July. So that's simple counting. Now, if you say that some minutes have been on multiple agendas, I will need to check about that specifically, but I really don't have issues to confirm on that. And as you know, there was no college in August. With this, we end our midday briefing. I wish you all a very nice afternoon, and we will be back tomorrow with our next midday briefing. And thank you for having participated. Goodbye.